Are you ready?
Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, and Scott Robbins.
We just become best friends. Yep.
Making sense of it all.
Now I get it.
And having some fun.
Lighten up, Francis.
This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. I'm Jamie Markley. David Van Camp is out with family. Got new baby boy. Scott Robbins is here.
Yep.
A lot to get to, as always. That large-scale search is back on for Brian Laundrie and the Gabby Petito case. Keeping an eye on that. Nothing breaking yet, but the manhunt, of course, is underway. We got a crisis at the border. Now, the Secretary of Homeland Security, he may not call it a crisis, okay, but it's a crisis.
Well, the numbers are down.
Oh, my gosh.
That's what I heard.
They're not.
I know they're not.
And we've all seen the images of all the people under this bridge, and now the word is, we're going to send them back. Okay, at least the ones that don't have kids. Okay. So basically, even though you're saying right now, Dorcas or Mayorkas.
Stop it.
That's his nickname, lovingly,
I know.
the Dorcas on the show.
I know.
So you're going to get tough on this and say, no, the border's not open. It's not. It's not.
We have reiterated that our borders are not open.
Right.
And people should not make the dangerous journey. Individuals and families are subject to border restrictions, including expulsion.
But for most, that's not going to happen, like 75%. I'm not going to tell you that right now, but that's the real truth.
Irregular migration poses a significant threat to the health and welfare of border communities and to the lives of the migrants themselves, and should not be attempted.
Okay, even though it's worked for pretty much everybody that's attempted it since Biden took over.
Right.
So obviously your actions speak much louder. Okay? By the way, on Fox, Bill Malugin, he's been the guy that's got all the drone footage, and he's down there with his crew.
He has a different take.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little.
Secretary Mayorkas said once again that the border is closed. I can tell you that is a tough pill for border agents to swallow. They talk to us off the record, and they roll their eyes when they hear that. This is the U.S. border right now. Take a look at it. You had upwards of 15,000 people here as of Saturday morning. It is now just under 12,000.
Okay. So obviously you can't trust what the Dorcas says. We already knew that.
Well, Mayorkas is just using a chapter from his book, Peaceful Protest.
Meanwhile, I don't know if you've seen the footage yet, but we've got border control down there now with horses.
I saw this, yeah.
You got some tough terrain there.
Right.
Okay, so border agents, by still photographs, you got progressives saying, well, those are whips. They're whipping people. Well, you watch the video, and the fact checkers say, well, no, they're not whipping people. Okay, that's a little bit different sort of thing. You're basically driving the horse. You're steering the horse one way or another. Okay, so this is what some people are calling this year's kids in cages sort of story. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, look what we're doing to these migrants. They're being whipped right now. And yeah, you've got headlines all over news saying U.S. border agents are removing Haitian migrants using horses and whips. Mm-hmm. Swinging whips in the faces of Haitians. Okay. And so then you get down to the truth of the story. And that's not what it looks like at all. You have to have the context. And again, with all this hysterical sort of speech going on about what's happened, there is an explanation the way people are trained. And part of it is you're trying to get people away from the horses so they don't run into or get run over by the horses. Mm-hmm. I know you've read a little bit about this. A lot of us are not familiar with trying to uphold the law while on a horse. Seems like it would be even more challenging than usual, and it's pretty challenging times right now.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they got to stop it, and the only way to stop it was to do what they're doing, and they used the horses, and then the whole whipping thing came up, and then it was white people whipping people of color, throwback to the slave days. We heard all about this, right?
Yes.
And it was Sam Elliott and Kurt Russell on the horses.
Right. So obviously, you've had people, as far as working border security, border control, overworked. And now you got a photograph that, sometimes photographs are misleading. And it looks like, my gosh, he's bringing down the whip. And so all the takes on social media are all over the place. So who is it? Mayorkas, the Dorcas, is on with Breonna Keeler from CNN.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Because she asked him, what about this image?
Right. One cannot weaponize a horse to aggressively attack a child. That is unacceptable.
But
what?
It doesn't look like a child in the photo.
Weaponize a horse to attack a child?
Yes.
When has that ever happened?
I don't know. He goes on.
That is not what our policies and our training require. Please understand, let me be quite clear. That is not acceptable. We will not tolerate mistreatment. And we will address it with full force based on the facts that we learn.
Okay. Again, jumping to conclusions very quickly, just as Jen Psaki did, White House press secretary. And of course, Keeler goes on here, to talk about this and how troubled she is.
Okay, what did you think when you saw this? When you saw this behavior on the part of the agents, when you saw them yelling at migrants, which, by the way, I would like to play part of what we saw, what we're witnessing on the border.
Hey, you use your women? Is this why your country? Because you use your women for this.
The context there is you got an agent saying, because it looks like you have one of the Haitian men making his wife, I would suppose, do something like trying to get this baby across. And so he's saying this is why your country's bleep. Because you use your women to do this. Your dirty work is the way I took it.
Yeah,
I don't know the exact context, but that's how I took it.
You go that way.
Secretary, what was your initial reaction when you saw these things?
I was horrified by what I saw. I'm going to let the investigation run its course, but the pictures that I observed troubled me profoundly.
Okay. Again, it's called split reins, and it's primarily used to steer the horse. Agents will also spend them sometimes to deter people from getting, again, too close to the horse. So a Border Patrol source said they were not aware of anyone being struck with the reins or a horse. But you don't have time to investigate it or try to understand the context. It's time for outrage.
Well, it matches the advancement of their narrative.
Of course.
I mean, if it's
now all of a sudden you
these
have
white cowboys down there whipping people of color, I mean, that's a big story to them. They love that stuff.
We'll have to get to more of this later on because you had the guys on CNN flipping out about it.
Oh, insanity.
On the Today Show.
Well,
it goes
Joy
on and on.
Reid.
Yeah, it's slavery.
Yeah, everybody chimed in on how it.
But when you first watch it, you're like, well, they're trying to do anything they can to try to secure the border because the government's not doing anything. Finally, they're trying to do something. And Texas is trying to do something. What else are they supposed to do? You say, well, no, we're not for open borders. You can't come. Just if you show up, we'll let you in.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, Greg Abbott has said Texas needs a federal emergency declaration right now.
Absolutely. So we'll get to more on that. Then we have COVID in the United States. And we're hearing boosters. You got to have the booster. Johnson & Johnson now saying booster's really good for you. But then you had the FDA say, whoa, whoa, whoa. We're not doing the boosters. You don't need the booster. Unless you're older.
Right.
Or at risk. And so your buddy, you call him the haircut, Jake Tapper on CNN.
The original haircut. Get it right.
Is asking Lord Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, hey, did somebody get this wrong here as far as recommending the boosters? Why they're still asking Fauci after he's lied to America? I don't know how many times and got it wrong. I don't know how many times.
That's a perfect question. I thought the same thing. What are we talking to him for?
Well, what we're
he
finding out is there's nothing you can do right now working in government that I can think of that gets you fired.
Nothing.
I don't know.
Advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci. Dr. Fauci, you've been a proponent of booster shots for the general public, but the FDA Advisory Committee overwhelmingly disagrees with you.
16-2.
Do you think that Advisory Committee made a mistake? Do you think the FDA officials should ignore the Advisory Committee's recommendation?
Ooh.
No, not at all, Jake. I don't think they made a mistake, and the FDA absolutely should not ignore them. As we said in the beginning, we would want to plan for the possibility of vaccinating all those who have gotten their initial vaccination with Pfizer, and it was always pending the evaluation of all of the totality of the data from the United States, from Israel, and any bit of data that we could get.
Okay. So, for the sake of time, he goes on for a long time. He also goes on to say, and we're getting new data all the time on this booster stuff, which begs the question, as far as natural immunity, if you've had COVID, because as he just mentioned Israel, the study out of Israel said it's anywhere from 13 to 27 times more effective than the vaccine if you have the natural immunity.
Right. They don't care about that study, though. That study doesn't matter. I get asked this question all the time. I have natural immunity.
Matter?
What's the deal? I don't know why, but
don't you have people's best interest in mind?
Because they're right. They're vaccine bandits. That's why.
That's what is so infuriating every time I hear something like this.
They worship at the altar of the vaccine. So and anything other than the vaccine is null and void. Doesn't matter.
Meanwhile, in Australia.
Oof.
In Melbourne.
Man.
Okay, it's on. Upwards of 20,000 people protesting. Melbourne. Initially, there the lockdowns were supposed to last a week.
Yeah, right.
We all have seen what's happened over especially the last month to 2 months. It looks like people have completely lost their freedom. And when they go out and protest, you've got, police officers coming in. I mean, taking people to jail. Taking them to jail.
Riot squads.
Oh, the oppression at the border in America. You look at this, what's going on in Afghanistan. It's like, just relax, would you, progressives? So now you've got authorities forced to confront all these people that are so angry, calling it an extremely dangerous maneuver because these people marched onto a busy freeway and blocked traffic.
Yeah.
And so now, as we're getting word from there, they have shut down for a couple of days, shut down all construction. Wow.
It's insanity.
It really is. And the whole protest is called the Bleep the Jab protest.
Good title.
Bleep the Jab. And then they'll chant it. They're saying they don't need it. Because some of those people are saying we have natural immunity. We don't need that.
Well, even if they don't need it, the extremes they've taken where you can't walk down the street. I mean, you can't, you're confined to your home. That's it.
Yes.
You can't go anywhere. I mean, and you think of Australia as, a bunch of freedom-loving folks.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's the way. You never think of them as some totalitarian, country, iron-fisted like that.
No, but it can happen.
But it can happen quickly.
Okay, there's a whole lot more to get to. By the way, is the mainstream media turning on Biden a little bit?
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
You're noticing that?
I have, yeah.
Let me get to that. And also, everybody makes mistakes. But a sportscaster made one that really tore people's hearts out last night. We'll get to that, too. Coming up, Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley. David Van Camp is out. He'll be back in a couple of days. There's Scott Robbins. Okay, it does seem like at least legacy media is calling out Joe Biden and the administration a little bit more these days.
A little bit more. I mean, a lot bit more. I mean, it really have been. It's unbelievable.
Well, I don't think there's any denying this is a debacle in a number of different areas.
But they're not even trying to cover it up anymore. I mean,
I think they're looking at the polling with people.
Right. I was going to say that because the polling's gone upside down on Joe. Yes.
So you had Chuck Todd, sleepy eyes, on Sunday, and what he said about Biden.
Well, look, I think he's got a pretty big credibility crisis on his hands because all of these problems in some ways showed up after he said something basically the exact opposite.
Yeah. Thanks for noticing, Chuck.
Taking a while.
Yeah.
he's pretty much done this to himself. The problem at the border, Afghanistan, there's a number of different things. Then, so we got this deal at the border, and you said yesterday, hey, where's the vice president? You said that.
Yes, I said that, yes. But I've said that a lot.
You know who else said that?
Who?
Stephanie Rule on MSNBC.
Way. Are you serious?
I am.
Stephanie Rule said that? Oh, man.
I was surprised.
How about a message from our vice president? Where is she? She was supposed to be in charge of all of these migration issues, going to those northern triangle countries. That's obviously not Haiti. That was one of her first international trips with the message, do not come here illegally. People aren't listening. What is she saying now?
Okay,
well, we haven't heard a lot from the vice president. Of course, you point out she was focused on those northern triangle countries. A lot of her work was in Guatemala.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Hold on a second. This is always the tactic.
Yeah.
Okay, you're the flack. I'm going to repeat what you just said to try to eat up some time.
Okay.
So she's already done that. She just repeated what Stephanie Rule said. Well, you're right. We haven't heard from her. And you're right that it was based on the triangle. And
working with that government. A lot of the diplomacy, which is what the vice president was focused on, was with Mexico. And essentially what we're seeing now is a breakdown of that work with Mexico. Mexico for a while was stopping a lot of migration coming from Guatemala into Mexico, keeping people from ever even reaching the U.S. border. But now Mexico became so overwhelmed.
Think of that. Stopping people from even reaching the border, even though we had records over the last few months, 200,000 a month.
They keep saying this. I mean,
I'm sorry.
And I always pivot to what she's working on.
Well, it takes a lot of work.
I mean,
we don't even know where she is.
No.
But flipping the coin in a ball game.
No.
It takes, and she campaign for Gavin Newsom, but she's working hard on it.
Mexico became so overwhelmed with this particular migrant surge that they were beyond capacity, and we were seeing Mexico essentially give up, in some cases, just allow buses through their country to the U.S. border, which is how so many people got here so quickly.
Yeah. We can't do anything about it. Let the United States deal with it. They deal with everything. And we'll get to the whole Whipgate coming up. Because, oh my gosh, we got Border Patrol on horses. They're whipping people.
Which they're not.
That's not who we are.
No.
Well, did it ever hit one of the people? I don't know. You're trying to enter a country illegally. Does it?
Yeah,
anybody forgot that?
No, I don't. No.
You know what happens when you try to do that somewhere else?
It goes beyond whipping. I'll tell you that right now.
If you get a little beaten, consider yourself lucky.
Yes.
Oh, we're back to, we're going back in time. They're freaking out. Oh, I mentioned just on a lighter note that everyone makes mistakes.
Yes.
And I just happened to hear about this morning. I missed it. But it was the Vikings radio announcer.
I missed this too. I didn't hear this.
Okay, so you got a field goal that can win a game, right?
Yes.
And you think it's good, so you call it good, but it's not good?
Oh, gosh.
When it misses wide right? Uh-oh.
High snap, put down. Joseph, come on! It is gone! No, he missed it. Are you kidding me? He missed it right. He missed it right. Oh, my heavens. Oh, he missed it right. What a gut punch to a team that play after play toward the end fought its way back. Missed it by like a foot. And just, oh, my God.
Oh, man. You talk about a gut punch for the fans that were listening along with that. Yeah, no!
I can remember somebody did that. Was it Bob Brenly? Maybe it was. Tom Brenly, one of them, but to call the home run before it was out.
Oh, really?
Swung deep, it's gonna go! On the warning track, it's caught.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, man.
But this is...
It is good! Yeah! No, it's so good! Are you kidding me? He missed it right. He missed it right. Oh, my heavens. Oh, he missed it right.
So sorry, man. That happens to everybody.
Who's he going to be working for next week, huh?
You can't fire him for that, can you?
Well, sure you can. I don't know if they will, but...
The Texas mom goes to a school board meeting. You have to hear this audio coming up. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp's out with baby boy and family. Scott Robbins in. Okay. This is the controversy now. It is border agents using the reins they have for the horse, split reins that looks like a whip, and whipping migrants to keep them from coming across the Rio Grande.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Del Rio, Texas.
Now they're using the horses because they can't get any other vehicle down in that area.
Yeah, it's not something you see all the time, but you totally understand it.
Never see it, actually.
Well, and you got people on CNN. This reminds you of a time back in America's history.
Oh, yeah. They're going to go there. Of course they are.
We're talking about a border issue right now. Can you separate it?
Right. It's people breaking the law.
Thank you. And that's the thing. I don't know about most people. I can only guess. But for the ones that are tired of people just strolling right through and we do nothing about it, I mean, my first reaction was not, I'm horrified by the images. They're always overplaying. Over emotional. I'm horrified.
Well, besides that's not what's happened.
When you see people trying to break in somewhere they're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
If you ask me, would you rather have the horse's rein right across your back or the club to the head? I'll take the horse's rein.
I'll gamble with horse's rein too. Yeah. Club to the head can really leave a mark.
Whew. A whip or a club to the back?
Club to the back would hurt too.
Yeah. I don't think I want that. I think I might take the horse's rein there.
I think I will too.
Well, and that's not the point to argue for. Yes, whip all criminals. Whew. Although I have talked about public caning.
I'm just going to say.
Broken the law.
Yeah, you've advocated for that for a long time.
But from what we understand, and from what different border agents have said, well, you're using that to steer the horse, and you're also using it to make sure people keep back from the horse so they don't get hurt.
Large animals. They can trample you very easily.
And so the Today Show, they were all over it today. If you want to hear the report of what's going on.
This morning, as massive crowds of people living in this makeshift migrant camp beneath the Texas border bridge slowly starts to thin, new questions about the response by authorities as images surface of Border Patrol agents on horseback, appearing to use their horses' reins like whips to turn migrants back to Mexico. The agency calling the use of horses a tool to keep agents safe. The White House denouncing it.
I don't think anyone seeing that footage would think it was acceptable or appropriate.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. And you're wrong. Some people think it's absolutely acceptable.
Yeah.
But you don't exactly have your finger on the pulse of real people in America either.
No.
So she goes on a different show today. So a lot of people were thinking, okay, now maybe you understand a little bit how this could be used. And yeah, one still photo may not tell the story. That doesn't matter. There's a new narrative. These people are victims and law enforcement are the aggressors. This is all part of white supremacy. And
He also felt they were horrific.
Talking about the president. Biden shared in that horror.
He also felt they were horrific and horrible. I don't know anyone who could watch that video and not have that emotion.
You don't know us. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm desensitized. Were you horrified, Scott?
No, I wasn't horrified at all. I just thought, first of all, I was told it was whips, and it wasn't.
Right.
But even that, I'm thinking that's a pretty soft approach to driving people back. You're not using stun guns or rubber bullets or throwing any sort of tear gas at them. You're not doing any of that. What you're doing is saying, get back. You don't get back. The horse comes a little closer. They draw you near. But
this is from a group of people that will say, words are violence.
Right. And it's just, what do you want? How do you want us to stop this? I mean, how do you want this to stop? Well, then say that. Just say, we really don't want it to stop.
Humane approach. And loving.
There's a humane way of doing it. And that's not humane. Keeping people under a bridge in 100 and some odd degree heat.
Basically inviting them is what you did.
And saying that this is some humane act. It's ridiculous.
But she went on.
Last night, our Secretary of Homeland Security put out a statement conveying there'd be an investigation, that he's going to send additional personnel. And I think it's important for people to know this is not who we are. That's not who the Biden-Harris administration is. And we're going to absolutely pursue that investigation and get to the bottom of what happened here.
It's not who we are. Golly, the most overused phrase on the planet. That and seat at the table and inclusiveness.
Yeah, who we are, that's definitely from the Obama playbook.
Well, he was the one who started that, I think.
Yeah.
I think he was the architect of that's not who we are.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to go into a rabbit hole with who we are, we could. I don't know that we actually have time right now.
Well, that'd be a fun little recap because that's the one phrase that makes me probably crazier than anyone.
Yeah,
that's not who we are.
Yeah, I know.
There we go. That's him.
I mean, we could go on all day with it. I think somebody put together a whole montage.
That's not who we are.
That's probably my favorite.
What if he tested out like, that's not what we do. We don't do things like that. No, that's not who we are. Yes! Go with it. That's the one, the winning message.
There was unloving, that's not who we are.
No. So it's not who we are.
Like leaving Americans in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that's not who we are.
Yeah, well, it kind of is now.
See, there you go.
It's a problem.
Yes.
Can't say that anymore. That is kind of who we are.
What if he gets royalties on that phrase? What if he copywrote that one?
I don't know.
The Big O gets a check in the mail every month for every time somebody says that's not who we are.
Jeez. Okay.
Yes, seat at the table and a conversation. That's another good one.
Yes.
We have to have a conversation.
Gotta have.
We don't really want one, but we'll say we do.
So that's the current controversy.
And educate yourself. That's another one. I'll go 0 to 60 on that.
Do the work.
Do the work. Oh, good one. I hadn't thought about that one.
Well, you got to do the work, especially if you're white.
Well, if you want to be educated, you got to do the work and get a seat at the table so you can put your workbook down on the table while you're doing it. This doesn't make any sense.
No, it does not. You know what? I think with this whole story, we're just going to go a little bit at a time today.
Okay.
Not go too deep. I think about your heart health, Scott.
Yeah.
I don't think you can take right now Ilhan Omar talking about how we owe it to the Haitians.
She's fantastic. She's
asylum for everybody.
Spot on. Yes. We owe it to the Haitians.
Yes.
How is that? How does that square?
Well, we'll get to it a little bit later.
Okay.
Want to get to the story of the Texas mom now.
Oh,
a lot of people, as far as parents with kids, have discovered, man, our kids are being taught some stuff I had no idea about. This happened later last week. It's made the rounds, and it is jarring, but you can tell this mom has had enough because this is a middle school.
Middle school.
Yes. So she goes to the school board to complain about the descriptions of sex acts appearing in the library books. Now, if you have a kid and they're told to, hey, you should read this book, and man, oh man, you're like, wow, I don't know if that's appropriate at all for a middle school kid. All I can think of is, all right, I got a middle school kid. Would I want them reading that? Well, absolutely not. And so
now I'm dying to find out. What's in the book?
Man, okay. We can be grown-ups about this, right? I'm going to give you a little warning.
Okay.
I don't think it's like swear words or anything like that, but the descriptions are certainly adult.
Oh, baby.
Do you want me to just call the whole thing off? Just move on? Or do you want to hear what she said?
Well, what would you say to me if I was doing this to you? What would you say to me?
Let's say you only live once. Risk it for the biscuit.
That's exactly what you would say.
How bad could it be?
You would say, risk it for the biscuit. That's exactly what you would say. So I'm going to turn it around and say, Jamie, you got to risk it for the biscuit.
I picked that up from my son.
I know. I like it, though. It's a good one.
Okay. On one page, she said the book reads, take her out back, we boys figured. Then hands on knee, and you can't say that word.
No.
But it has to do with breasts. You're like, okay, this is troubling. And then it mentions coin box.
Oh, boy.
And then cornhole.
Oh, boy.
And as the mom said,
the board game. Okay.
She looked up what that was.
Oh.
Because all she knew it as the beanbag toss game.
Right.
It's like, I got it in the backyard. I don't know what it is. But then she found out what it meant. And she doesn't want her kids learning about that in school. And she is angry, and she starts
This is a school board meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And this is the part where it got a little uncomfortable, but I understand her point.
Oh, yeah.
They end up shutting her mic off. And you'll hear where that happens. Just tell you, it starts with what she's talking about. Mm-hmm. Okay, roll it.
Anal sex. I do not want my children to learn about anal sex in middle school.
I think that's common for most people, right?
Yeah.
Then In some people's opinion, maybe she gave too much info here, but still I understand why she's upset.
I've never had anal sex. I don't want to have anal sex. I don't want my kids having anal sex. I want you to start focusing on education and not public health.
Stone, you're on.
Officials, you are supposed to be.
Oh, she's still going.
Our children. Do not
She's
about anal sex.
Yes, not about that. Supposed to be an education, not this, and all the indoctrination.
I wonder if somebody said, I'll give you $5 every time you can sneak that word in.
I don't know. That'd be something you or I would do.
Yeah, we
double
would.
dog dare you.
Do it. Come on. $5 a mention. Go.
Yep. Should have matured 30 years ago. Not yet.
Yeah, not today.
Double dog dare.
Yep.
Yeah, but it certainly got the attention. And again, for a lot of people, they have no idea what is being taught in school. And then, through the lockdowns and everything else, they find out.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, you talk about pendulum swinging. I do think there are more parents that are involved now once they start to hear about what really is going on, what's really being taught. And again, not everywhere. I don't want to broad brush it, but it's happening in a lot of places.
Yes.
So you need to figure it out. Read the textbooks. Go over them. Know what they're reading.
Well, again, and that's high school or middle school.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of times, and it's the other stuff, it's the critical race theory.
But you can't trust these people to make the right decisions concerning your children anymore. They have an agenda.
Well, what we found out is so many school boards have approved a certain curricular. They don't even know what's in it.
No.
So you have these companies that make it that certainly, they have reasons for doing what they do.
Yes.
It's all part of what they're after in the end.
This is what we complain about with politicians. They sign off on bills they haven't read.
Yes.
Okay. And
sounds good.
Yeah. You have no idea what's in it. Yeah.
Anyway, when you get to college, it's a different game. Check this. Certain university telling their faculty, you need to participate in the annual anti-racist experience, meaning you're going to learn about your white supremacy or you're going to lose a pay raise. So that's what it's come to here.
Okay.
Get to that story and much more coming up. This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robin Show. All right, let's do this. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robin Show. Jamie Markley. David Van Camp is out. He'll be back in a couple of days. There's Scott Robbins. A lot of people have quit their job over a vaccine mandate. Other people have quit their job over forced, anti-racist training. Diversity training.
Oh, yeah.
It's critical race theory.
Yes.
You just call it by a different name that sounds better.
That's how they can get by with saying that's not what we're promoting or teaching.
All right.
I mean, it's so transparent.
Right. But if you're white, you're born an oppressor. And you have to do the work.
No. You can clearly see it's race theory that's critical. Oh, okay.
Well, at the University of Wisconsin, Madison, there are certain departments where you have to participate in the annual anti-racist experience or you lose your chance for a future pay raise.
All right.
Okay. The first thought that comes into my mind before I even read the story is this needs to be declared its own religion, because to me, that's what it is.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It's a completely separate worldview. And if you're on that staff, you should be able to say, my religion would not permit me to learn that. You're not going to make me learn Islam, are you? Hinduism, or you're not going to make a Muslim person learn Christianity. So this thing is its own religion.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, they will be mandated to participate in the annual anti-racist practices.
Well, if you want to throw mandates in there, I guess COVID would be considered a religion too at this point.
For some people.
Yeah, because you're being mandated to do something.
Yeah. Well, the requirement came from the Equity and Diversity Committee.
See, there's another one. The Equity and Diversity Committee. What that must be like.
Which emphasized the need for employees to understand systemic racism and to learn anti-racist practices. Okay. So the members of the EDC wrote that the dean there asked the committee for concrete steps the college can take to combat systemic racism In response, the committee told the dean that the majority of faculty and staff are clueless about the racism in our college. And they went on to say the alleged victims of racism would be overburdened by the task of solving it.
Mm-hmm.
Because burdening those who experience racism with the task of solving it only perpetuates this pernicious cycle. And then you wonder why so many on the left hated a guy like Larry Elder, who lost that bid to take over the governorship of California. Because as a black man, he'll tell you this is all BS. Okay, and it's really hateful, and it gets in the way of advancement as far as black people go. The breakdown of the family is the biggest issue facing blacks today. It's not this. That's why they hate a guy like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he calls it out. Or they hate a Candace Owens or a Brandon Tatum.
Well, we've made it impossible to self-own anything. Victim of this, victim of that.
Yes.
Your mom is too short and your daddy's too fat. Get over it.
Oh, are you quoting the Eagles right there?
I'm quoting the one Don Henley.
Yes. Wow.
Well, that was his lyric, and I agree with him.
By the way, speaking of short and tall.
Yes.
Did you see who the world's tallest people are?
The world's tallest people?
No.
Yeah,
this just came out.
Huh.
This is a news story.
That's interesting.
I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Who would you guess?
Oh, boy.
Let me just
I guess I probably would have said Americans.
Nope. No. We're actually, if I remember right, I think we're 3 inches behind as far as the dudes.
Depends on who's measuring, right?
Stop it.
No, I'm just saying.
The Netherlands.
The Netherlands?
World's tallest nation for years. But the average height for Dutch people is shrinking. They said, like in 2001, Dutch men were about 0.4 inches shorter than those born in 1980. You got to wait till they're full grown.
Huh.
And Dutch women are about 0.6 inches shorter. So the average Dutch man today is 6 foot tall. Women 5'7". What do you think the average is for the United States?
Average height of a man?
Yeah.
5'11".
Nope.
5'10".
No.
5'8".
9. You just keep getting it wrong.
5'9".
Yes. 5'9".
How much longer do we have of this show? I'll get it right eventually.
Average height of a woman?
5'4".
Well played.
Yeah.
Yes. That's true.
5'9", huh?
What's your comment? Go ahead, get it off your chest.
I'm not going to.
You just feel superior right now, don't you?
I do.
It's white supremacy, too. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robin Show.
Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Only on FM News 101, KXL.
Are you ready?
Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, and Scott Robbins.
We just become best friends. Yep.
Making sense of it all.
Now I get it.
And having some fun.
Lighten up, Francis.
This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley. David Van Camp is off. He'll be back in a couple of days. He's with family and new baby boy. Enjoying time there. Scott Robbins is here.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out if this faux outrage that I sense over the images at the border with the Haitian migrants, border security on horses with the reins, and in still photos, it looks like, oh, is he whipping this guy to get him to go back over the river?
Yes.
To Mexico.
Yes.
Then you see the video, and yeah, I mean, they're trying to contain people, and you're trying to educate yourself because a lot of us don't know, no idea how to ride a horse in that situation. What are you going to do? How do you control the horse? Oh, the reins.
Yep.
And from what we understand, that's part of it. I read that in a number of stories. We've had a number of comments from people that ride horses.
Yeah, one of our listeners is an avid rider of horses of all kinds and participates in all kinds of contests and things like that. But she said that not only is the person at risk of being trampled by the horse, they're also the horse spooked and bucking off the officer on the horse.
Oh, yeah.
And hurting them. So that's twofold. Why you don't want people rushing up to a horse. It's not a good thing.
You have split reins.
Yes.
And you're using that to steer the horse.
Yes.
And sometimes will spin them to deter people from, again, getting too close.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and because if they start touching the horse or bumping the horse and startles the horse, I mean, they can throw the rider off.
Right. And as I'm seeing it, I'm taking in context of border security anywhere in the world, trying to make sure people are not just running through the gate.
Right. I mean, you have to understand, why are they there with their horses?
Right.
Because you're breaking the law.
But of course,
yes,
for the administration and the Secretary, the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas,
known as
the Dorcas,
thank you,
on the show.
Mm-hmm.
He saw the images. He was asked about it by CNN's Breonna Keeler. He's horrified.
Of course he is.
And roll it.
One cannot weaponize a horse to aggressively attack a child. That is unacceptable.
Well,
I don't know what he's looking at.
What is he talking about?
Unless he's seen something that we haven't seen. I don't know what he's talking about. Not the video I've seen.
A horse aggressively attacking a child?
Right. Like just running a child down?
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen that before.
This guy. Okay.
That is not what our policies and our training require.
Really?
Please understand.
Really? You don't train horses to trample kids?
Kids? I mean, I thought that was page 117.
Yeah.
Of teaching horses to trample kids. Mm-hmm. It's a short chapter.
Yeah. Anyway.
Please understand, let me be quite clear.
Okay.
That is not acceptable. We will not tolerate mistreatment. And we will address it with full force based on the facts that we learn.
We will not tolerate anyone trying to stop people from flooding into this country.
Okay.
Even though I'm from the Department of Homeland Security.
Yeah. Gosh, jeez.
And then she asked again, when you saw those images, what'd you think? I think he already answered the question, didn't he? But anyway.
I was horrified by what I saw. I'm going to let the investigation run its course, but the pictures that I observed troubled me profoundly.
Oh. Okay. I don't know. Bit of an actor to me.
A bit?
Yeah.
That's not what the pictures were.
So then if you're MSNBC or you're CNN,
yeah,
it's probably time to get some people on. How about, I don't know, Ilhan Omar? Yeah?
I wonder what her take will be. Gee.
I don't even know if we can take this.
I mean, these kind of responses that doesn't actually follow the actions on the ground that is so visible to everyone are not going to cut it. What we have seen was cruel, inhumane, and a violation of domestic laws and international laws.
Really? I've seen
what violation of international laws was committed? No one was being whipped. That was a totally fabricated story. Didn't happen. Wasn't happening.
No, not just allowing people to waltz through. I'm not sure.
People were racing to get into the country, and we're trying to stop that from happening. This was the one way to get down there and try to get it done, or at least attempt to slow it down. I mean, what's going on with her? Everything is an international incident with her. Everything is. Everything. Her baked beans were cold in the cafeteria, and it's an international freaking incident. I don't get her.
You're killing me.
I don't get her. I don't.
Gosh. Oh, she goes on.
The right to seek asylum is an international right.
There we go. I
know this because I would not be here today if I wasn't able to seek asylum in the border of neighboring country Kenya.
Well, if you're making the argument for asylum, I don't think that's the one you want to give to most people.
No.
You mean you wouldn't have made it here? Somebody that hates the country, that has some power?
And was she on a little boat in Rio
just
Grande?
Cancel all of it.
Because I don't think she was.
Jeez.
Somebody voted for her. She was elected.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
How is that possible?
I don't know.
That's incredible.
It's crazy to me. And you know what? I figured out something today. Because a lot of times you will make fun, or I will, of the cadence of speech.
Yes.
And I'm like, it's probably because it's just I don't like her. I don't like what she stands for.
Right, I don't either.
And then I realized it wouldn't matter what she was saying. it would irritate me. You get what I'm saying?
Because of the cadence of the speech?
I think so.
Okay.
We have seen Americans show sympathy and empathy to people who were fleeing Syria and call on the...
Enough. We had enough.
So it's that if she could be reading the ingredients on an applesauce can, and that would be the same response then, is what you're telling me.
Is you saying, I think we need to secure the border?
Okay.
It'd be like, okay, could you have someone else say it?
All right.
I like the Dallas Cowboys. I like what they stand for. I think Jerry Jones. I can't even do this.
You're doing it pretty well, actually.
No, I'm not.
No, you're not bad.
Oh. It's just some people, the cadence. I have that effect on people. That's what I'm told. That's why they don't listen to the show. I'm kidding.
That's why they don't.
No, it's all going to be okay. All right? Just relax.
The J in your name would be silent. It'd be Hammy. Okay.
Oh, man.
All right.
I wonder if we could send him some songs. Like, would you relax? We're not whipping people. All right? It's just not. But if a problem does come along,
you know what you should do?
Possibly. They probably wouldn't appreciate that.
And you should do it good.
Let's talk about the vaccine. How about the mandates?
Yeah.
Why would you do it bad? You don't whip it bad. You whip it good.
I would think so.
Francis Collins, he's the head of the National Institute of Health.
Yeah, he's... Now, there's a guy, I like his cadence.
You do.
I think he's like full of nonsense most of the time, but the way he says it, he's like the elderly gentleman who just speaks wisdom all the time. That's to me, I get transfixed by that.
Okay.
It's like your uncle, your really smart uncle, who sits at Thanksgiving and pontificates about something, and you listen to him because it sounds like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah,
Francis Collins never knows. I never hear him and go, gee, I wonder what he knows what he's talking about. He always does.
I listened to a book on audio from that guy by recommendation of my daughter because I've mentioned this before. It was through a conversation. It was a class she was taking in college.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that was a long book, man.
But would you agree with his inflection and the way he kind of story tells and folksy sort of delivery this guy has?
It's hard because when he's talking about these boosters.
Yeah.
Okay, and why the FDA didn't recommend it for everybody right away, but he thinks they'll widen it, and he's going to say that. It's hard for me to get around what he's saying to listen to the cadence, so I'll try.
Okay. We have to see how this plays out over the coming weeks because the data changes every day. I do think it was very significant that the FDA Advisory Committee voted unanimously in favor of offering boosters to people 65 and over and to others who have high-risk exposures like healthcare professionals. So we're starting...
You tell me if I'm out of line.
No, it's all
BS.
Of course
Here's the BS.
Yeah.
That's not significant. That wasn't a surprise to anybody.
No.
That they're going to offer boosters to those over 65 and those at risk.
I don't know who he's selling that to.
That was a given. So that the BS detector already goes off.
Yeah. Down that path. They weren't convinced yet that the data required this for younger individuals who aren't at high risk. But I think some of the data we're seeing coming in, especially from Israel, tells me that it's likely that they will get to that point.
Okay. You brought that clip in.
Yeah.
And the one from Fauci.
Yeah.
You realize they said the exact same thing.
Yes.
And this is what drives me crazy.
I know.
They're going to bring this in from Israel.
Right.
Not the part from Israel that talks about natural immunity if you've already had COVID. We're going to ignore that part of the Israel study.
Which is part
of this other stuff.
Part of bringing this in today. But you're absolutely right. They never talk about that. They never do.
And granted, I know it is a sign of white supremacy to talk about American exceptionalism. So guilty. Because you grow up in this country, you're kind of used to American exceptionalism. We're usually the best at things. We take pride in that. So the fact that we're not doing research on our own with the vast resources we have and we're waiting for other countries like Israel, we're just waiting to see what they come up with and then we'll know what to do. Right. Why are you not doing it?
I agree.
And why are you not tracking people that have had COVID?
But he sounds so good saying it. It's like Jenny went to Grandma's house and they canned peaches.
Do you want to hear another 10 seconds of him?
Yes.
Because I think I just went into Chumley on him. And I apologize. That was probably not loving. And I apologize. I don't apologize.
Chumley was good.
I don't apologize to Ilhan Omar. That's
But this was a start. And I know people were confused about different messages.
Really?
But in a certain way, Margaret, this is the way it ought to be. Science sort of playing out in a very transparent
It's not the
way.
way it ought to be. You should have the truth at your side at all times, Francis. You're a man of faith. You should have the truth on your side, dude. It's disappointing you don't.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Looking at the data coming from multiple places, our country, other countries, and trying to make the best decision for right now, that's what they did.
But as a
Okay. Yeah. Completely different story. Have you seen the whole COVID mortality by age range?
I just saw the chart, and I really didn't get a chance to look at it very closely.
Okay. Here's the takeaway from it, from this particular chart. And this is from the CDC, COVID population fatality ratios by single year of age. So take someone 60. Okay. 60-year-olds in America, the population is 4.2 million. People that have died of COVID, 9,109. Not that many.
No.
The younger you get. Did I just have Ilhan going there? The younger you get?
You kind of did a little bit.
See, now it's getting into me. I can't take that. Say it's I don't know, 24 years old. 4.44 million people. 250 people have died of COVID. And then you could get into the particulars. What, at risk? Is it obesity? Other different things. So if you're pretty much a healthy person, your risk of dying is pretty much zero.
Well,
and people forget it all the time because you're constantly reminded by scare tactics from the media.
I'd rather have more people get hit by a car, more people have a bicycle accident, more just so we can compare. Because I'm guessing we're going to run pretty close there.
We got to get to Justin Trudeau, Canada. He wins again, even though there was more blackface photos. How is that possible? That much more. All right. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp is out. Back in a couple of days. There's Scott Robbins. I don't know if you saw this story. There's a report that some Haitian migrants hijacked a transport bus in an attempted escape. Yes, no joke.
Holy cow.
Yeah, the Washington Examiner. There's the story. Senior law enforcement officials describing the episode saying a busload of illegal immigrants bound for San Antonio from the makeshift camp underneath that bridge in Del Rio took control of the vehicle and fled before being recaptured by federal agents. Because if it's bound for San Antonio, my guess is that would be one of the ones shipped back to Haiti. So then you had these people overtake the bus.
Holy cow. Wow.
Okay. And then they got the bus again. They caught him. Wow.
Were they, well, I guess you don't know, but.
What's that?
Was somebody driving the bus from there?
Yes, that's as I understand it.
They pulled the driver out or threw him out or?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Man.
Hijacked the bus and then fled the bus. Okay, so we'll wait and see what more details come out on that. I mean, if you made the trip and then you realize what? We were told that once we got in, we were getting in. Okay, and it was probably going to be hell to get through the process, but once we were there, we were going to get shipped to some town in the United States, and it was going to be all good. Because you can guess they paid to get here.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever smuggling agency. Then to find out, no, you're going back home, you're probably desperate. Wow.
Gosh dang.
Justin Trudeau. See, he won again. Barely. Canada, do you care?
Who'd he run against?
Oh, I forget her name.
Randy Bachman?
No.
Okay.
I take it you weren't following that story really close.
No, I really wasn't. I didn't even know there was an election.
There were different, people in Canada were really hoping, because country has gone the way of a lot of others in recent history, like Australia, New Zealand. Some would say the United States in the last several months. What was interesting, the story, I don't know if you saw over the weekend, there was another photograph that came out with Justin Trudeau in blackface.
Oh, no.
Wearing a white
Really?
turban and robe. Yes.
This has happened numerous times already.
Yes, well, and the thing is, I thought, well, maybe it will hurt him. But if you go back to the comment a few years ago when this first came up, I think the comment was he didn't know how many times he did blackface.
No.
Like he was
said
trying
that, I
to
think.
say all the right things. He was trying to give woke speech, and he was very careful.
I think it is obvious that this is something that was deeply regrettable. I am wary of being definitive about this because the recent pictures that came out I had not remembered. And I think the question is, how can you...
Time out.
It's almost like Prince Andrew heard that and mocked it later.
There's different things that you could dress up as for a costume party, Halloween over time. Mm-hmm. Like, especially if you're lazy, you could go with the cowboy several times.
Sure.
Admit it that back in the day because you had the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But blackface, that seems like a pain in the neck to put on, doesn't it? And then get back off?
Yeah.
How many times did you go to that? Can't remember.
Probably won a couple of contests or something.
Yes, maybe.
How can you not remember that?
Yes, that's what we're saying.
The fact is, I didn't understand how hurtful this is to people who live with discrimination every single day.
Wait a second. That doesn't make any sense. You had me at, if you're wondering how, do you not know how many times?
Mm-hmm.
Then he realized it was hurtful to people?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but no, that's not the point.
Right.
How many times did you dress up for contests?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Doesn't make any sense. Sure. And to think of what Megyn Kelly said and got fired for it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, somebody dressed up as, like, Gladys Knight, and I don't understand. It was a costume thing. Racist! Fire her!
Got fired.
Racist! Speaking of racism, you got to hear this story coming up. All right. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. I'm Jamie Markley, David Van Camp with new baby boy and the rest of his family. He'll be back in a couple of days. Scott Robbins is here.
Yep.
Okay. So the large-scale search for Brian Laundrie is back on in the Gabby Petito case.
Well, there was I saw some trail. There's like some trails have cameras set up.
Okay.
So you can see wildlife or whatever at night. Mm-hmm. To know what kind of wildlife you're trafficking or what's there.
Yeah.
And it was in Florida, and it looks like him. In this trail video footage, it's grainy and black and white, but it certainly looks like him. So they're going to search this area of Florida now where this was spotted because they think they've zeroed in on where he is, if that in fact is him, and it certainly looks like him. It was a person, it was a human with a backpack on that resembles him. So, I mean, they're looking there now.
Well, and I think most people that know of this story at all, you want to know how it ends.
Yes.
Obviously, it's tragic.
Well,
and
it is tragic.
There is this weird thing that we are drawn to these sorts of stories.
Yeah.
Or just murder mysteries in general.
Yeah,
that's why so many TV shows do well.
Right. This is like something fictitious that was written. The young couple decides to go on the road together and see America out of the back of a van. And she's using it as a travel log almost and posting videos and all the
romance,
all the adventures they're having, and they're engaged, and what a wonderful life. And then, of course, things got ugly. Now, let me ask you another question, because we've been around this game, you and I have, for a while.
Yeah.
I've never known a guy or a relationship where a police officer gets involved in a domestic violence situation where it's the first time and only time it's ever happened.
I'm trying to think, man.
I mean, generally speaking, it goes on for a while before it's noticed.
Usually, yes.
Yes. And so I'm thinking to myself, this guy may have had a history of this type of behavior, only we don't know it. But somebody probably knew.
You would guess.
Yeah, I would think.
I mean, all that stuff is hard to tell. And then, you read different stories about it because, honestly, it's partly because of what we do. A lot of times, these stories, I will ignore it because I already know it's sad. You have a pretty good idea of how it's going to end up. And there's always all these other stories that are unfolding with new details that come out that affect so many more people.
Yes.
And so when it got to the point where, wow, this has become this huge story now. Okay, better follow this, better know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Sure.
When we first talked about it, was it late last week? I think we decided we should probably talk about this. A lot of people are talking about it. It's one of the things we try to do is make sense of it, what people are talking about. And I talked about the curiosity of why it was such a big story. Because unfortunately, this sort of stuff happens all the time.
Yes, it does.
And why this particular story? And maybe it was what you just said, the romance part of it and the adventure and the cross-country trip, and maybe all that was part of it. But there are some people saying, well, it's because it's a white blonde girl.
Well, of course they are going to say that because it's 2021 and this is where we go all the time.
Okay, I'll push back on that a little. Just to say, if that was a black couple, do you think this would be a big story? Or a Hispanic couple?
I don't know, man. It's all hypothetical. I think with the...
Has it ever been?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
And that could be for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, I don't
a lot
know.
of that could be eyeballs. I don't know.
It may very well be. I mean, it's not like the media can't exploit something for ratings. I mean, they're going to.
Exactly.
But this thing has all the trappings, you know?
Yes.
And if it were black or Hispanic, would it be the same? That's a hard question for me to answer because my gut reaction would say no.
Right.
Yeah, that's my gut reaction.
And so it's interesting to me how you have legacy media so often talking about racism. We got to fight racism and so much white privilege and but we'll cover the story. But not if it was a missing fill in the blank, somebody else.
Yeah, it may get cursory mentions, but nothing like this.
Okay.
This has captured America, yes.
Well, and at the expense of ever agreeing with Joy Reid on MSNBC.
Careful.
Well, she brought this up.
Well,
She's
of
more
course
hateful
she did.
about it.
Well, yes.
But at the same time, I guess you could say like us, they're covering the story.
Yeah.
But what has been pointed out from some people, which is so true, is, hey, when it is a missing black person, black girl, you have a show. You could talk about it.
Yeah.
You could highlight it.
Do whatever you want.
You have the platform. You could do it. I mean, it seems like you can get away with anything. Look at your ratings. You're not going to get fired.
No.
You can do whatever you want. But it's just interesting to me why that is.
No, I don't disagree with you. I just... Everything's about race with her. Everything. It doesn't matter what it is. So she loses all credibility there in my mind.
The other part to me is you wonder how much of it, at least from legacy media, is a distraction.
Well,
because you had,
yeah.
Think about Friday afternoon, what we learned Friday afternoon, okay, with the drone strike. No, we didn't take out anybody from ISIS-K. We killed civilians, including 7 kids.
Right.
Okay? We're going wall to wall on this other story. Not us, but I'm saying the media. Okay, you had what was going on at the border, because at that time, media didn't want to pay attention to it at all. It was finally on Friday that Good Morning America finally covered it. And then now that you have the whip sort of controversy, it'll be covered now. How law enforcement's so mean to these migrants that just want a better life.
Right.
We're going to hear that. But that's just interesting. Because you wonder why are certain stories covered and others are not. We ask that all the time.
Well, it certainly is a distracting story, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
And listen, man, I'll tell you where I'm guilty. As we were watching coverage yesterday before the show started, and the search was on at the parents' house, and you're wondering, well, the parents got to know you're going to be accomplices in this.
Yes.
You're trying to hide stuff. What are you doing?
He came to your house before he left on his hiking adventure.
And all of a sudden, as I'm watching it, I partially answered my own question, which was, why are they covering this? Because it does draw you in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, to me, it wouldn't matter if it was a black girl, a Hispanic girl, whatever. With all of this, put all the other pieces together, yeah, you would be interested. And this guy that's seemingly nice to a lot of people, what did he all of a sudden turn? Did he snap? Who knows? Like you said, usually that's a case of that's gone on for a while.
Yeah, he's been getting away with it for a while. What I am surprised about that there isn't some former girlfriend that stepped up.
You know what? Because I started paying attention to this late in the game, I don't even know how long they've been together or any of that stuff.
Well, they were engaged, so
I know that.
Must be some sort of reasonable time together.
Well,
I'm guessing.
Didn't you also think from the get-go that was going to be a slam dunk thing? It's like you're the fiance and now you're gone and you seemingly don't care where she is?
Right. You went home and went to bed and got up the next morning and went hiking? Really?
That doesn't make any sense at all. So, but there's no other update on that story other than that. Okay. You know, I heard this yesterday. This was really interesting to me. Do you remember the case of the trans person at the Wee Spa in Los Angeles?
Oh, yeah.
And the woman saying, hey, this person has a bleep. Okay, that's how I know that's a man.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I did not realize so many people in left media or legacy media were keeping that story alive for quite a long time. Talking about this drew so much violence because of this trans hatred that this woman had and was unaccepting.
Jeez. Okay.
There was a whole piece on Slate, violence over alleged transphobic hoax, because they were saying the whole thing was a hoax.
Yeah.
Well, as it turns out, it was not a hoax. You might remember this from a few weeks back. That person was arrested.
Yeah.
They've done this before.
Yes. Yeah.
They've been arrested on I don't know how many different sex charges.
Well, he's a deviant.
Yes.
Yes.
And it sort of ended up the way you thought it would be. Like, why is this person, it's almost flaunting it in front of young girls.
Their hideous behavior is protected.
Yes.
All they have to do is claim that's what they are. Again, there's no proof here. There's no card that says, yes, I'm a man who thinks I'm a woman. It is verified. The government has given me this card to carry that it tells me that it's safe. It's like a vaccine card, except it tells you you're not who you think you are.
But the woman that complained,
yes,
that had every right to complain,
yeah,
she was demonized. There were people going after her.
Oh, I know. And all she was trying to protect her child.
Well, yeah.
So it's okay. I just want to be clear with you. It's okay. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around the other women, young little girls underage. Your spa, we spa, condone that. Is that what you're saying? Like I asked. It's so he can stay there. He can stay there. Sexual orientation. What sexual orientation? I see a it lets me know he's a man.
So, yeah.
So, after all of that, then the defense was on for this person for like months. And now it's totally gone because, and it was not all that well of a reported story. The controversy was big, but the fact that the person was arrested and has had multiple charges.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden the left, there's nothing. I heard Matt Walsh talking about it. He's taking the whole thing apart.
Well, because the narrative has been busted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as we talk about all the time, isn't that what it takes? People to stand up and just sort of say the emperor has no clothes. What is going on?
Well, she did.
Yes.
His equipment is this way. I saw it. I know what it is. I've seen one of these before. You know, I mean, she's right.
Yeah. You're the one guy goes sexual orientation, like he's covered.
Yeah, well, and almost in a defeatist way. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, nothing I can do here.
Right.
He's a man. He is a man. He is not no female. He is not a female. He is not a female.
I got it.
Give her her money back.
Are you talking about a transgender person?
There's no such thing as transgender. He has a
Yes. Yes. He does.
Yes. Yep. All these different
the dude
stories
got in the hot tub, if I remember.
Oh, that was a different one.
Oh, wait, I thought it was the same guy.
One.
Okay.
No, but that guy had gotten in trouble at the Wee Spa before, but they said they didn't recognize him because of the masks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they were trying to say, oh, this is a false flag. This didn't even happen. This was a setup. No, that was real, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy to me. Did you see the story about what happened to the referees in Ohio?
No.
There's a crew of high school football referees. There was a controversial call. It happens sometimes. So they go in the locker room, they're going to change clothes before they go out to their car and leave. Somebody pushed a vending machine in front of the door, so they couldn't leave. They were trapped.
Oh, no.
They're filing charges. Now, I tell that story just to see what your reaction would be, and it was as I suspected. You're laughing.
Well, nobody got hurt, right? Feelings got hurt, but...
That was it. Just the feelings, nothing else.
I could see a couple of dudes going, hey, we're going to push this vending machine and then just run like hell and be somewhere where you can watch it happen from afar.
Here's a ref talking about the situation.
Okay. We don't deserve that as officials. We as a group have now filed charges against Grove City, and we had to push on the door, 3 of us, to at least get the door wedged to where we can get out.
Yeah, it's hard to find officials already.
I know.
If you're doing the
it's a
vending
thankless
machine
job. I got that.
Front of the door so they can't leave. That's not going to help that issue.
But when they pushed on it and rocked it, like 2 bars dropped, though. So there was a little bonus there.
I know. And somebody's going to have to take, don't make terrible calls.
Right.
News update straight ahead. All right. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley. David Van Camp is off for a few more days with family. There is Scott Robbins.
Yes.
Just looking at a few news updates. I'm not sure exactly everything that's within this new Project Veritas video.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Okay. How legit it is, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because a lot of times it is with them.
This is a COVID thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I just saw it at Red State. You look at Red State a lot. It just says, when registered nurse for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Jody O'Malley, came forward to blow the whistle on the federal government's knowledge on the vaccine, she was scared, but said her faith in God outweighed her fear of man. So Project Veritas sent her with a hidden camera to capture and record all the various things she experiences as a nurse at the Indian Medical Center, a federal government facility. And we can now see that at least one medical expert deems the vaccine as full of bleep.
Wow.
So we'll be looking more into that. Exactly what's on that video. That's going to be really interesting. The one thing I don't understand, here's the broken record, sorry, is why we're not tracking more of the natural immunity from people that have already had COVID. And all we heard Fauci say a few weeks ago was, yeah, that's a good point. We knew that, what word did he use? Was it robust? How robust the protection was, or something like that?
Right.
As compared to the vaccine. Well, according to the study in Israel, it's more so by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So then you ask, well, why wouldn't they be talking about that or following that? And that's the part that just doesn't make sense to me.
I've talked to several people since we've been talking about this quite a lot that have had it recovered.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 months, 4 months later, still have some very strong antibodies to COVID. They have their antibodies tested with some frequency just to see where they are.
Yeah.
Not anti-vaxxers.
Right.
But they're like, wait a minute, I've had this. I have the same amount of antibodies, if not more, than I would if I had the vaccine, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel the need to do this. Well, they're being told, too bad. You either get it or you get fired. You get it or you can't come here. You can't go there. You can't do this. You can't do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're saying, I have the same thing. It just naturally happened to me. I didn't ask for COVID. It just came to me. I got through it. I suffered through it. I don't want the vaccine because I don't know what it's going to do to me with the antibodies I already have.
Right. I talked to a buddy of mine last night.
I don't get it.
Late 30s.
Yeah.
And he's had COVID twice.
Oh, my gosh.
Had it.
Really?
Didn't get vaccinated. Got it again.
Oh, my gosh.
It was fairly mild. Got through it.
Yeah.
And then was really hesitant about the vaccine because after having it twice and all of the questions, and he happens to work at a place that has over 100 employees.
Uh-oh.
And it could be coming down where, boy, are you going to quit that good job?
Right.
And he's just like, this doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
But again, if you're in this situation we're in, just trying to ask questions and figure it out, deniers.
Yeah, anti-vaxxer.
Right.
So tired of that crap.
No, up yours.
Yeah.
It's just common sense trying to figure out the answers to questions.
Up yours with the vaccine.
This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. FM News 101, KXL.
Are you ready?
Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, and Scott Robbins.
We just become best friends. Yup.
Making sense of it all.
Now I get it.
And having some fun.
Lighten up, Francis.
This is the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
The Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, out with new baby boy and the rest of his family, and there's Scott Robbins.
Yeah.
All right. So you got this thing going on at the border. More on that in a second.
Yeah.
And, oh my gosh, what a debacle. To add on to all the other debacles that we seem to have going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the question of COVID. And what are we really looking at as we're heading toward winter? Because the fearmongers, in my opinion, are already out. Oh, this could be some sort of winter. We're really going to have to be careful.
Very dark.
And at the same time, when you do take a step back, say, okay, this is a real thing. Many people have died. That part is awful, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But moving forward, especially when we're talking about different demographics, say for the sake of this argument, under the age of 50, relatively healthy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of unanswered questions if you're working at a bigger company.
Yes.
If you've already had it, already had COVID, recovered, maybe you had it like, oh man, it was the worst I've ever felt.
Mm-hmm.
It was a few months ago. Or it was, you know what? I mean, it felt like just a mild cold and I was fine. But we're not talking about the antibodies at all. It's just full-on vaccine. And there is a pushback. And we're starting to see more and more lawsuits. Are people going to be able to keep working and get paid?
I don't know.
If they say no thank you? I mean, we're hearing about hospital and medical employees all over the country saying, forget it. I'm not doing it. I'd rather quit. And would you say, Scott, that you're surprised as many stories as you've seen, as many people as you're seeing quit jobs?
No, I am surprised.
I thought you were.
And by the way, just for the record, a lot of these are well-paying jobs.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I happen to be very close to someone in the medical field, and she was telling me that the shortage they're experiencing right now in their hospital is something she's never seen before. People just quitting.
It's true in a lot of the country.
And again, these are not minimum wage gigs, you know?
Right.
Even then, you had people filling those jobs. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. I went to a restaurant, a fast food place the other day. I didn't go in. I just happened to see it on the billboard outside. Mm-hmm. The dining room is closed. They don't have any people. They're working the drive-through. That's it. And it's not because of COVID restrictions.
Right.
It's because there's no one there. I mean, I have never seen anything like this before.
But when you're looking at people in the medical field.
Yeah.
Maybe we saw the story in Upper New York.
Yeah.
Can't have babies here. Too many people quit.
No, you got to move like 2 hours away.
At some point, you say, hey, we got to rethink this mandate thing. Or is it really about control?
Well, I hate to say that. I mean, I know I've thought it 100 times, but I feel like I'm a nut when I say it sometimes. It's like, is that really it? But, you know, sometimes my instincts, I have to trust them.
Yeah.
And there have been times I know in the past where I've said to you, boy, that's a slippery slope. And you're like, I don't know. I hear that
I've apologized to you for 10 years ago on different things you said were a slippery slope that I thought you were nuts on.
I think we're there at this point now where we're beyond the slippery slope. It's happening. And the motivation behind it can't be science.
No.
I mean, because it doesn't make any sense.
No.
I mean,
it doesn't. That's
again,
just it.
what was
it's like the masking of the kids in school and 2-year-olds. You're seeing
Right.
these stories all over the place.
And what was the motivating factor to get vaccinated? The motivating factor for people like you and me to get vaccinated was, our parents are older.
Yeah.
We have children. In my case, I had pre-existing conditions.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about my kids.
And
it was a couple other people in my life that I'm close to.
Me being one of them.
Yes.
So you got the vaccine. I mean, to protect not only yourself, but for those you care about around you. Then we're told that nothing's going to change. That I can get it just as easily now as I could before I was vaccinated.
Well, there was the Delta variant.
Which, by the way, if anybody's on the fence, they're going, well, what the hell? Why would I do this then, right?
Yeah.
But in order to force you into it, they're going to make it impossible for you to live your life. They're already doing it in some cities.
Right.
I mean, you've got to show a vaccination to go into restaurants, to movies, to, concerts. There's a lot of artists out there going, well, everybody's got to show vaccination or I'm not playing.
But there are too many people that are just not going to play the game. And you're going to see it more and more.
How many times do you want to sacrifice it, though? How many times do you want to go, well, I guess for the next year and a half or 2 years, I won't be going to movies or I won't be going to concerts or I won't be going to sporting events.
Fine.
Okay. I just don't know what the threshold is.
I don't need the sporting event. I've been so turned off by other things with the sporting event.
But what if they say you can't go to
but a movie?
Right.
When's the last time you saw a great
movie? It's been a long time. But, particularly in a theater. But what about your kids' events? I mean,
that's where I get irritated.
Let's just say you got a kid that plays basketball, and they're saying, you can't come watch him until you've been vaccinated. I mean, this is all coming.
I understand.
This is all going to be part of it.
Yes, that's when you have people really upset.
This doesn't stop. I mean, and again, it's divide and conquer. It's to divide us as more than we are, and to try to conquer us that way. That's what this is.
We'll get to some audio.
I mean, it's crazy, but that's what we're doing. And by the way, again, I have to say this all the time because you and I are not sitting here going, we're anti-vaxxers and we think they're putting poison into your body. And, that's not what we've been advocating. What we've been advocating is personal freaking choice.
Anyway, who cares?
Personal freaking choice. That's what it is. Your choice. Decide for yourself what you want to do. Not Fauci.
No.
Not any of these other jackwagons that are on TV with their lab coats on. No.
But we're going to get to some audio.
I'm just waiting to see what the Dr. Jill Biden has to say. She's a doctor, for crying out loud.
Do you want to know what the audio is?
Yes.
Or do you want to keep ranting?
No,
it's up to you.
That's all right.
I can just kick back and listen to you rant for a while.
No, I'm done.
You sure?
Yep. Yes, I'm sure. I want to hear the audio. Whatever you have, I want to hear it.
Well, I can't play it yet. You said not to. Because it's got three bad words in it.
I thought you just asked me if I wanted to hear it or not. Like, shut up and let me play the audio.
No, I said we're going to get to it. I'm trying to tell people what it is because they might be wondering what audio you're talking about.
Well,
and they're like, I'll tell you something else. And then your kid's gay.
Well, see, that's why I'll be quiet now. I'm going to sit over here.
No, it's okay.
Politely, I'm going to start pleading sheets. Yeah.
It's from Project Veritas.
Uh-huh.
And man, is that wild. Because you've got a nurse going in with the old secret camera.
Uh-oh.
And it's the hospital, and it's people talking what they really think of the vaccine.
Oh, boy.
This is going to be controversial. And that's where Project Veritas lives. That's Stones. That is really interesting. And along with that, if you haven't seen the chart for the COVID mortality by age range, if you do have someone near you that seems to be in so much fear of this thing, let them see that chart. You know what, though? I suppose even if you say, hey, at this age, like what did we say earlier, 25?
Right.
There's like 4.5 million people that age, exactly 25. Only, forget what it was, somewhere around 250 have died. So the chances are so slim. Yeah, but everyone counts. Yes.
Well, I know
but you're
that.
playing percentages with a lot of things. Do you ever get in a car and drive?
Right.
My goodness.
Yeah, put an actuary on it. How many people falling out of trees? How many kids falling out of trees die versus the number who died from COVID? I mean, is it similar? I don't know.
I know there's certainly more drowning. We went over the list yesterday.
Yeah.
All different sorts of things.
Yeah. I mean, that are more riskier than COVID. So,
yes.
And how many parents are going to line up to have their kids inoculated at between 5 and 11? If I had a 5-year-old,
some are lining up for it, and others are like, there is absolutely
never going
way.
to happen. Right?
No, it's not going to happen. Now, if you want to laugh, Scott, your heart's pumping.
Yes.
Just release that with some laughter. People say it's good for you. Have you heard the audio or seen the video of the grandma? You can tell it's morning, and it's the granddaughter saying good morning, and she really doesn't want to have a conversation.
Grandma doesn't?
No, she does not.
Oh, poor. Okay.
There are the little pieces like this always crack us up.
All right.
And yes, I think you will get a kick out of this.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this then.
All right. You're ready.
I'm ready.
We have the audio, right?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yes, I have the audio.
Okay. All right.
I do. It's going to take me just a second. I had to pull it from a different file.
That's all right.
Van Camp's not here. You know.
I know.
A little grace. Okay, it's the small talk thing. Roll that. Yeah, this is good.
Good morning, Granny. Good morning. Chilly today. By saying good morning doesn't mean I want you to have a conversation with me.
Sounds like a sitcom star there, doesn't she?
By saying good morning doesn't mean I want to have a conversation.
Good morning, Granny. Good morning. Chilly today. By saying good morning doesn't mean I want you to have a conversation with me.
Which is the nicest way of saying, could you just shut it, sunshine? It takes me a while, okay?
Where's my coffee?
Okay. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robin Show. I'm Jamie Markley. David Van Camp is out with family. There's Scott Robbins. Happened to see this earlier. A lot of people have this story now. Red State had it. It's Project Veritas. There is a bombshell video. And the headline says, showing a medical expert saying the vaccine is full of bleep.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
So as the story goes, when the registered nurse here for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Jody O'Malley, came forward to blow the whistle on the federal government's knowledge on the vaccine, she was scared, but again said her faith in God outweighed her fear of man.
Holy cow.
So that's when Project Veritas sent her with a hidden camera to capture and record the various things she experiences as a nurse at the Indian Medical Center, which is a federal government facility.
She does or does not know she's being recorded here?
No, she knows she's recording.
Okay, that's
now,
what I
the
thought.
different people around her,
All right.
They don't know.
Okay.
So one of the first things you see is ER doctor for the HHS, and that's Dr. Maria Gonzalez, complaining to the nurse, which is O'Malley. Okay, so we'll pick up the audio because it's all set up ahead of time.
Yeah.
With O'Keefe. So there it is. Roll it.
Tell us about who this person is.
Dr. Gonzalez is one of our emergency room doctors at Phoenix Indian Medical Center.
And she's a federal employee?
Correct.
And now you got this guy in room 4 who got his second dose of vaccine on Tuesday, has been short of breath.
He's got myocarditis.
Yes.
Oh, this is bullshit.
And now let's see.
Probably myocarditis.
Okay. Just want to check something real quick. Our producer, Chris, in case there's some sort of swear word, you're ready to go. I mean, I did Van Camp's not here. It's up to me.
I know. Golly.
I thought you said you trusted me.
I do. Go ahead.
You don't sound
on the
like
button.
you do.
Are you on the monkey button? Okay. There you go,
Chris is all good.
All right,
Here we
good.
go. All right, go for it.
And now let's see.
Probably myocarditis due to the vaccine.
Right.
But now they're not going to blame the vaccine.
Well, and you know what? But he has an obligation to report that, doesn't he?
They are not reporting.
Right.
Because they want to shove it under the mat.
They want to shove it under the mat. They don't want any adverse effects to the vaccine.
Well, they don't. That's true. Very true.
Any stories you've heard from different people? They're like, yeah, I had this happened to me. Either swelling of the arm or I felt bad for 3 days or whatever it is. No, you didn't. You just imagined it.
I know.
Okay.
You're right. There you go again. Telling stories.
Here's more of the audio from Veritas.
What patient was she referring to?
She was referring to that patient, that 30-something-year-old patient that had congestive heart failure.
And in that particular patient's case, it was not reported.
No.
The problem in here, they are not doing the studies. People that had it, you know, and the people that have been vaccinated, they're not doing any antibody testing.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
Want to make sure everybody can hear the audio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
could hear it.
Not doing the antibody testing.
No.
Who goes on and on and on about that? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, right. I mean,
it goes on.
It's super fishy.
Not that it hasn't been done. It hasn't been published.
It hasn't probably been done because the government doesn't want to show that the darn vaccine is full of shit.
Okay. There you go. How's the editing? All good?
It was pretty good.
What, does that make you nervous? I guess you could tell what she said there.
Yeah. I'm going to let my knuckles return to their natural color now.
Well, there was more, man. There's only so much time.
I know. I
say we just play the rest and see how quick Chris can be on the dump button.
Poor Chris.
I'm kidding. I'm joking.
The whole thing's on your shoulders now, buddy.
So what do you think as far as any media covering this? From Project Veritas.
Well, have you heard him? Anybody cover this? I mean,
it's just out.
Tucker might tonight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll be talking about that. Might even have O'Keefe on. I don't know. But,
these guys, man, I'm telling you.
And again,
they've broken more stories.
We've said this, I don't know how many times, that when you actually are talking to people in the medical field, you seem to get a different story.
It depends on who you talk to.
Than the
but
talking
yes,
heads.
Yes.
As an example, we know of people that have been told by their doctor, I wouldn't be getting the vaccine right now if you just got over COVID, say 3 months ago. I'd wait a bit.
Right.
Now, that'd be off the record, but that's the advice given. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but doesn't this seem to be logical?
Yes.
I mean,
but this is the weird world we live in.
I know.
Like, who's in control? Like, it's almost like, are we going to whisper on the radio? Yeah, this one doctor said that.
Yeah.
Like someone's listening over us. What doctor could it be? We need to find out who it is. We need to shut him down.
Yeah, if you've got one of those little readouts on your radio, it'll say,
And you don't want to get to that point.
Misinformation alert.
But yeah, we should just talk about it because it's the truth. And that's what we should all be after, is just the truth.
I have wondered that from the start, and you have wondered that from the start, and we have wondered that from the start. Why they're not included in any of these. Only thing we figure in is how many people have been vaccinated, not anything else. Nothing else is even equated. And I would be curious to know, out of the population, how many have recovered from COVID. It's into the millions.
Well, we don't know how many people had it and got over it and didn't even know they had it.
That's true as well.
But it doesn't matter. If you're 22, work at a company over 100 people, got to get it. Doesn't make sense. In other news, there's some people, speaking of the vaccine, said, you know what? If I got to perform at a venue requiring vaccination proof, I ain't going to do it.
I've heard that.
Just not going to do it.
Until they
Jim
do.
Brewer.
Yeah.
He was saying, no, I'm not going to do that.
He's done it.
Yes.
But somebody else caved.
Eric clapped.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably not a good look when you release the anti-vaccine song.
No.
Remember that?
And you made a public proclamation.
Yes. He hasn't commented on it yet, but it was in New Orleans.
Well, they couldn't book a tour. I mean, that's the problem.
There's some that just won't go on the road. But he did a show in New Orleans, and like a lot of shows, it required proof of vaccine or a negative test result. And before, he said he would not do that.
It's not like he's short of dough.
I have no idea.
I don't think so, anyway.
I have no idea.
But he certainly did. He stood by his guns for about 48 hours.
I mean it this time. Well, okay, maybe not. So I guess, did he play the anti-vaccine song live?
I knew that something was going on wrong.
I hope not.
When you started laying down the law.
Yeah, that would have rang a little hollow.
I break out in sweat.
It's like, hey man, you're not doing that instead of Layla, are you? Don't do that.
Buy my t-shirt and my coffee mug.
The trifecta. Robin's 3 big stories of the day. Next. All right. The Markley, Van Camp, and Robin Show. Jamie Markley, David Van Camp, back in a couple of days. There's Scott Robbins. Before we get to your trifecta, your top 3 of the day.
Yeah.
Just asking, is the whole whipping of migrants a part of your 3?
No, it wasn't. I mean, we've touched on it several times today, but it certainly is a big story.
It is.
Since we've got people on horses down at the border whipping migrants.
That's not true.
I read it was true. I heard Joy Reid say it was true. I heard Don Lemon say it was true.
Okay, have you mentioned anybody yet that tells the truth often?
No, I haven't. I haven't told the truth about that.
If you haven't heard this story yet, is that, okay, all of a sudden the images are shown.
Right.
That border control, we've got, agents on horses because you're trying to stop people from crossing the river.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're trying to, ride back and forth to keep people from coming up on land, saying, you need to go back to the other side. And part of that, you're using the reins on the horse. They're split reins. So you're also trying to guide the horse, as we've learned.
Right.
And you're trying to keep people away from the horse so they don't get trampled. Or you don't get bucked off yourself.
Right.
Okay. But that didn't stop the left and media outlets from freaking out and talking about how we're going back to slavery.
Right, we're going back to slavery, yes.
Whipping black people.
Mm-hmm.
The Today Show touched on it, and then we had other reaction after that.
This morning, as massive crowds of people living in this makeshift migrant camp beneath a Texas border bridge slowly starts to thin, new questions about the response by authorities as images surface of Border Patrol agents on horseback, appearing to use their horses' reins like whips to turn migrants back to Mexico. The agency calling the use of horses a tool to keep agents safe. The White House denouncing it.
I don't think anyone seeing that footage would think it was acceptable or appropriate.
There's at least a few here and several people on social media that have let us know. What's the problem? I mean, let's say for the sake it wasn't, or it was a whip. Mentioned this before. What would you rather have? Stun gun? Would you rather have a baton?
Rubber bullets?
Or nothing, just, hey, would you nicely not come into the country? I know you made this trip.
Mm-hmm.
What are you supposed to do? But we heard Mayorkas from the Department of Homeland Security, the secretary, talk about how he was horrified by it. Just all this faux outrage that you're so used to every time something like this happens, where you see these images and you're, so troubled by it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what are people supposed to do? We got to have a border, correct? At least in polling, the American people still want a border.
Yeah, like they want a front door on their house. I mean,
yes,
they don't want people walking in and out whenever they want to. And that's, to condense it down to the terms that maybe you'll understand, that's exactly what's happening here. They're walking in. They're literally walking in.
Yes, so they're trying to be told, hey, you got to get back. And that horse is going back and forth.
Who's got the most skin in the game? Texas, Greg Abbott.
Yes.
They're the ones that have to deal with this. Some jackass writer in New York doesn't have to deal with this. So he can do whatever he wants. He can say whatever he wants. People in D.C., they don't have to deal with this. Mamala doesn't have to deal with this.
Yeah, where is she at?
So they can scream, racism, and they can scream this is like the South in the 1840s or whatever. It's crazy.
So Mayorkas talking about those images. Yeah.
One cannot weaponize a horse to aggressively attack a child. That is unacceptable. That is not what our policies and our training require. Please understand, let me be quite clear. That is not acceptable. We will not tolerate mistreatment, and we will address it with full force based on the facts that we learn.
Yeah, big tough guy.
Gosh dang. What do you mean training horses to attack children? What does that mean?
No one attacked a child. It doesn't make any sense. Like someone said that. Yeah, that's how we're trying to, keep people out. We're training horses to attack people.
To trample children. Okay.
That's right.
That's plausible. Thanks.
But Greg Abbott today, governor of Texas, the border saying, we're doing Biden's job.
Right.
We're here to clean this up. We're the one that got control of this.
Because it affects us. It affects the people I have vowed to protect in my state. This is not hard.
No. And I mean, if you come away with anything other than this is what the administration wants.
Yeah. Right.
They want open borders.
What else? What other conclusion can I come to that makes any sense?
It's so weird because you hear Mayorkas say, we're telling people,
don't come here.
Don't come. But if you come and there's kids, even if we catch you, you can come in.
Right.
And if you just go a mile down from where the border is, you could cross there.
Yeah, it's a well-known secret.
Yeah, that's fine too. But don't come. Wink, wink.
Yeah, the people at the border have been reduced 3% since we told them that. That's because they walked down a mile to go across there. That's increased 80%.
Yes.
These guys.
Oh, and one other thing, there was that report that some of the migrants hijacked a bus that was on its way to San Antonio, fly out. Because they don't want to fly out.
Right.
And then law enforcement got a hold of the bus again.
Right.
So still waiting for more details on that story. I'm guessing that one is not going to be covered a whole lot with legacy media.
No, it won't.
So that's kind of a picture of what's going on at the border. Because I want to make sure that was included if it wasn't in your 3. But everybody knows that your 3 is really what's most important.
Well, I think so.
Americans.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
So with that, let's get to the trifecta.
All right.
Yes.
Are you ready?
1, 2, 3, my shoe.
It's the 3 most important news stories of the day. I hit the trifecta. Well, at least according to Scott Robbins. It's the trifecta on the Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins Show.
All right. Looking good.
Okay.
What, you're waiting?
Of course I'm waiting. I can't do this without
your hero from your top 40 days.
Right,
Casey,
conjuring the memory of Casey, yes.
All right.
Get your pencils ready.
Oh,
3.
Nice to hear from him.
Yeah, that's nice.
Joe Biden appeared at the UN today.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Gave what's being described as a low-energy presentation.
Are you serious?
Yep. Which he demonstrated, quote, his ever-worsening senility, as well as several destructive policy ideas. Of course, he didn't mention the absolute crisis, which is on our southern border, nor take any responsibility at all for Afghanistan. You know what the big problem is in this country right now, sir, and in the world?
What?
Green wiener is the place to be.
The Green New Deal stuff.
Yeah, the Green New Deal stuff.
Got it.
The extreme weather events represent what the Secretary General has rightly called Code Red, said Joe, for humanity. And the scientists and experts are telling us that we're fast approaching a point of no return in a literal sense. Now, it may seem hard for you and me, too, to understand how this continues to be the number one issue in Joe's world, given the full-scale collapse of so many other tangible items around him that he can see and reach and touch and smell. Extreme weather events aren't new. They've been around for a while, Joe. There may be some exasperation going on there. That may happen.
Yeah, it's the whole, how dare you?
I mean, tell me again, please. Can you tell me again how this administration represents a return to norms, decency, and morality? Because I can't.
I keep saying that, but boy, it's just so refreshing from where we were before.
I would just like to personally say
the environment.
That's
How
right.
dare you?
Yes, Scott.
And I don't want to represent you or David or Chris or anybody else that's on this show, but I'm going to go ahead and go out there and say we're screwed.
Like forever?
With this guy.
Or just for a while?
Completely screwed. I mean, these
Time to turn it around.
policies are not only dangerous, but they're destructive. I mean, you've got Afghanistan.